So if you guys have caught my bullying story video, one of my favorite videos on this channel, then you will have known that I didn't really like elementary school. But in this video, I'm going to try to keep the stories lighthearted and funny, even though they do involve me not being treated well a lot. But looking back on it, now that I'm in a better headspace, a lot of these stories are pretty hilarious. I got a few to share with you because I just like to talk when I can't come up with an original idea. So let's get to it. So one time, I think this was in like the 3rd grade, because I'm not in high school, so I don't tell high school stories with a lot of drama and inappropriate topics. I'm just entering high school next year, so maybe I'll make a middle school stories video. But one time in the 3rd grade, our teachers made us line up to go to class. Now, this isn't odd, but because we are little kids, everyone started fighting for a spot in line. Now, I was in like the 3rd spot, I think. Now, don't judge me too bad if I don't remember a lot of this that well. But some guy stepped out of line. I'm not going to say his name, so let's just call him William, just for his privacy. So William stepped out of line, and he loudly announced, "Guys, it doesn't really matter where we're in line because we're all going into the same spot." Now, then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't really matter." No, they weren't, because if they were, I wouldn't warrant including the story in that video. Then he just casually walked up to the very front of the line, and no one stopped him, not even the teacher. Now, I find this kind of hilarious, but then all these other guys who I didn't really like started cutting the line, saying like, "Guys, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter." And really, if it really didn't matter, why didn't everyone stay in their spot? Just to point out the obvious. But yeah, if you're gonna announce that it doesn't matter, why not just, if you're gonna do this, why not just say, "Hey guys, I'm walking up to the front of the line, and there's nothing you can do about it, so just deal with it." Because that's basically what they were doing. And I find this funny, how the teachers did nothing to try to stop them. Because, like, that's just flat out asserting your dominance. And I find it hilarious looking back on it. So in the 5th grade, we learned about these ships, and not your average ship, obviously. These were 1906 cargo ships, and if you didn't know, these kind of ships kind of suck to be on the crew, so back in the day. So we did this simulation style thing where we learned all about these ships, and then we actually got to spend the night on one of these ships. Now, it's obviously not in service anymore, but they pretended like it was. And what it was basically, we were forced to do very difficult and pointless labor, and they called it an education. Because why be fair when you can get kids to work for free and call it an education? That's frankly genius. Now, at 8 p.m., after being forced to do labor, getting soaked while in a raft, and moving these heavy 50-pound buckets everywhere, we were given a really crappy meal. And you might say, "Oh, Cyber, you're skipping a bunch of crap." But at night, at 10 p.m., which 10 p.m. doesn't seem that late, but to an 11-year-old it does, we went to bed. Now, if you didn't know much about these kind of ships, they did a night watch to make sure that, like, robbers didn't go on them. And they thought they'd simulate it too. Now, as much as education's important, I think getting our sleep schedule intact is more important. Don't know if you agree with me. So, I had the middle of the night, probably the crappiest hour ever. I went to bed at 10 a.m., and then at 12 a.m. we had to get up and search for an hour. But my favorite part was that it took 4 people 25 minutes of violently shaking me to wake me up. And I was probably just so exhausted, I don't know. And I have no recollection of it, but apparently, according to other people, I was just like, I'll get up in a second. I don't know, maybe all their voices and shaking was getting into my dream. Obviously, this was like 3 to 4 years ago. But then we went back to bed at 1 a.m. And then I think we got another 4 hours of sleep. So that was 7 hours total. Not bad, but kind of split up. So once we got back up, we had to do more really difficult work until 3 p.m. And, well, they should make field trips more enjoyable and less getting kids to work for free. But at the end, we were rewarded with hot chocolate and donuts. That made the entire trip worth it, in my opinion. Next one is more just pointing out what I found to be a really weird situation. So, some kid was picking on me for whatever, and we were taken to the principal's office to talk to separately, because obviously if someone physically attacks someone, they have to have a side to the story too, and if they're right, they're completely right. So, when I told my story, this was like their exact words. Alex, I believe you, but if you're lying to me, you will be in big trouble. Then went on to give me a lecture on the morals of lying and how much trouble I'd be in if I was lying. And they occasionally reiterated that they believed me. And really, no duh. It's obvious, dude, that you don't believe me if you feel the need to talk to me for a half hour of the morals of lying. Now, I frankly find that just funny. Now, if you had watched my bullying story video, you'll know I was a bit of an outcast in this school. And when I finish with this story, I'm just going to say, this isn't trying to make you feel sympathetic for me. I want absolutely zero comments of sympathy, even though if you do it, it's nice. But I thought about leaving that school every single year. And really, whenever I did, these weird kids came up with bribes, like, I'll give you my entire Beyblade collection. You remember when Beyblades were still popular. And you can hang out with me. Really, I fell for it. Now, if you're in a situation like mine, you should not fall for that type of crap. And just get out of it. Don't give them what they want, just get out of there. Now, I hope you have enjoyed these 4 weird stories from my past. And leave a like if you want more story videos. If you want more stories, click on the top left to see my bullying story video. And if you want more content, click on the bottom left to subscribe. Comment saying you subscribed for a personal shout out in a future video. See ya!